Welcome to the March 26th edition of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series, brought to you by the National Urban League. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem, New York-based diversity recruitment firm, East Coast Executives. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Whether it's your first time or your 21st, please jump in the chat and tell us where you're from, where you're representing today. The Digital Career Success Series, DCSS, is a professional development series that helps members of our Urban League Young Professional chapters and other diverse job seekers develop new skill sets that will enhance their careers through digital platforms such as webinars, Facebook, and Instagram Live. The goal is to provide an opportunity for professional development right from one's computer. If you want more, visit us at nuljobsnetwork.com. All right, I see some people from Houston, South Carolina, Baltimore. Go Terps, University of Maryland in the building. Philly, New York City, of course. Today's DCSS, AI Unleashed, transforming the future of work and embracing technology, features two amazing guests, Francine Marquis and Talisha Padgett. So let's do it. Francine, what's good?
Hello. Live from Atlanta, but Philly native.
Philly native in the building. I love it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you all are located. My name is Francine Marquis. I am a cloud AI program manager at Google. I've been at the company for about 7.5 years, and I've actually navigated from the HR space to the cloud AI space. So I'm happy to talk a little bit more about my journey there. I'm also a consultant at Workflow House, which is an AI agency where we focus on assisting small and medium-sized businesses on implementing AI into their business. I also recently just launched Miss Productivity, where I'll be just providing some AI hacks around how to implement AI in your everyday workflow or in your company. And then my passion project is I love doing events. I am an event planner. I do everything from corporate events to birthdays to vacations. And I just enjoy speaking to folks and sharing my journey and my path to AI. So excited to be here. And also a Philly native, home of the Super Bowl champs. So I got to call that out there.
Listen, I don't know how you get time to sleep, but we're happy to have you here doing this event for the National Urban League. I really appreciate you. All right, we're gonna move over to your co-host today, Talisha. How's everything going?
Everything's going well. Let me tell you, I had the same question, Francine, but a little bit about me. My name's Talisha Padgett, and I've been in the marketing profession for over 20 years now. Thankfully, you can't tell, hopefully. But I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time with data in tech, and I spent the last half of my career leading MarTech transformations, and also digital transformations. I've worked at Microsoft and Marriott and Under Armour, but a ton of great organizations, all looking to leverage the new wave in technology, and AI is one of those. Luckily, right now, I'm also leading our generative AI Center of Excellence in our marketing organization. So between MarTech and AI, I'm really, getting to see a lot of people have to embrace new technology, which I think comes in handy because my only side hustle is I am the co-founder of Empathy Coaching. And I spend a lot of time helping my clients, ideally, people that look like me, navigate the corporate environment, and of course, use technology to help them become more efficient.
Wow, you know what? So I usually don't do this on the intros, but so you're doing some of the coaching, your background's in AI. How has that influenced your coaching practice? Like, are you leveraging AI tools and resources to support your coaching practice?
For sure. I mean, I use AI no matter what I'm doing, even catching up on emails, but also anytime I have a thought process or something I have to write down. We write blogs. We start with the first pass, leveraging blogs. We kind of put in some prompting, which will help. And of course, I have very detailed prompts anytime I use AI to produce any marketing collateral, but I'm doing that. One thing that I'll say as I'm coaching people and trying to talk to them about how exciting it is to leverage AI, I think that people have a lot of fear. So more than anything in my coaching, I'm helping people get over that fear, step out and try new things. And I see Francine nodding because I know she is experiencing that same challenge with her stakeholders as well.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's just jump into it. I think you gave us a good segue because fear is a big part of people's journey into tech, right? So as we talk about AI's impact on the workforce, Francine, I kind of want you to come in. You're kind of, you know, leading some of the direction that we're all going in on our AI journey. So please talk a little bit about kind of what you're seeing and how AI is impacting today's workforce.
Yeah, so within my current role at Google, I'm responsible for like three major programs. One is essentially how our customers get access to our products. So it's called the Trusted Tester Program. So any new launches that we have that we want some testers to use and get some feedback to implement into, you know, making our products a bit better, that they go through my program. I also lead like our customer engagement. So essentially, if a customer wants to speak to our executives around a certain topic, so I get that kind of bird eye view of what customers are looking for. I'll help, I call it like lining up the basketball team or the perfect roster of speakers to speak to our customers in order to get that slam dunk, that home run, whatever analogy we want to use to kind of bring those deals home. And then lastly, a part of my work is around our safety filter work, right? And we know that this is very visible right now. Is very high priority to whether it's governance or you know, like organizations, governments, where I'm just responsible for, let's say if a customer is leveraging our products and they run into a roadblock of, hey, you can't go beyond this because there's a certain filter on the product. So I basically handhold our customers and either help them kind of get through removing those filters or not. So I get the visibility of across the board of like what's hot, what's hitting the market. I also get to see the conversations that executives want to have in terms of where they want their companies to go. And I also get to see like the roadblocks that our customers are kind of experiencing. And what I'm seeing is that it's important for us to have early adopters. And really when I talk to people about just like AI and thinking about like, hey, the future of AI and how it's impacting our workforce, I tell people like, I don't care what tool you use, like hop on that wagon very quickly, right? You just want to use it and have your own experience and have your own feedback. I don't care if it's a Gemini, I don't care if it's ChatGPT, I don't care if it's Copilot, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care what it is as long as you're using it, because I think what happens is you get to use it based on your use cases, and then you get to implement it in your everyday workflow, right? You see companies like Wendy's, they are implementing AI in their workflow where you're going through a drive-through and you're not speaking to anyone in the drive-through anymore. You're actually speaking to a voice agent that's taking your order. You have other companies or warehouse companies where they are literally automating a lot of their work, where they're saving time and allowing people to actually step back away from those administrative tasks or those daily tasks that they don't want to do, and really just focus on the high level of businesses, right? And when I'm coaching these like small and medium-sized businesses, I get to kind of share these use cases with them to help them understand that you don't want to be in the business. You want to get out of the business and really think about automating a lot of these processes, whether it's customer service, whether it's voice agents, and just seeing the evolution of AI has been amazing over the past few years, even though it's been around for a bit.
So thank you so very much, Talisha. Let's talk about it. You know, Francine gave us a lot to work with here, and I just want to speak about kind of what you're seeing as far as AI's impact on the workforce on both sides of that, right? So, you know, of course, end user side, but then, you know, we're talking about how companies are leveraging AI, but also what type of feedback you're receiving from the people that are actually using it.
Yeah. You know, because I lead the Center of Excellence, I actually am one of those executives, Francine talked that she would probably line up to go talk to a client. So myself and my senior director spend a lot of time with big clients that use Microsoft. But in addition to that, we are spending more time as the leaders of the Center of Excellence with marketing teams and trying to get them to use the tools. So we always start first with what the problem is. And one of the things I love about my job and why I even got into coaching is because I like the people component of it. Any change is transformation, and any transformation requires a change in mindset and requires people to be open. So the first thing I'm seeing when I'm working with a person like in a marketing organization, or even I work and support sometimes sales or other departments, as people that are employees and have a standard way of doing something, a lot of times you have to recognize people's identity becomes attached to their job. If I am a social media manager, for instance, and my entire job has been writing copy that I think is going to get people to engage, when I come and say, oh, you could do that in 2 seconds using AI, there's a little bit of threatening to some people's identity. And so one of the things that I talk about fear and the acknowledgement of like, yes, this has changed. And some jobs, like a social media manager's role, could be changed by more than 70 to 80%, right? And I think it should be. Some people's job, maybe if you're in strategy or maybe you're in research, doesn't change dramatically, but it should be changing significantly. So, when I'm talking to people, especially folks that could leverage AI or tech to transform, I first want to identify the pain points. To Francine's point, sometimes people want to get rid of the tedious, low-level task, and you should, right? Because you don't want to be known as the person that can write a 50-line, 50 content blog post. So it's about identifying the pain points, seeing if AI can help with that transformation, and then also helping people realize all the other things you could do when your time is removed, leveraging AI.
Wow. So you were talking about threats here, and I think that leads us perfectly into the next bullet point that we're working on here: AI, automation, job security, right? Threat or opportunity. So as you're getting some of this feedback and you're speaking about how jobs are changing and how people's responsibilities are changing, but what we, from the outside looking in, what I hear a lot is that people feel threatened by the AI and the automation, and what they feel threatened about is their actual job security. You want to touch on some of that a little?
Yeah, I'll say this. AI and automation is already in our day-to-day jobs. Most of the time we're even sending a text. We're not even writing the entire message. There's already AI all over around us. And so I start there and say, it's not a threat. It's an opportunity for you to become more impactful. To the example of that social media manager, you're not going to be writing every line of copy, but you have the opportunity to maybe go do some more research or thinking strategically about what has worked. You can even leverage AI to go back and assess the last 20 campaigns that you did to see where you may have made inroads with a certain target audience, and then really become more helpful to your organization by focusing on what's working and then identifying what's not working and changing strategy. So instead of just being, focused on writing or what you used to do, it's an opportunity for you to go look, there's an expression of like, sometimes you have to get on the balcony to see what really needs your attention. AI is that opportunity for you to get on the balcony and assess your environment, assess the roles, assess the organization, and use it as an opportunity.
Opportunity indeed. Francine, join the conversation with us. Talk to us. Threat or opportunity?
Yeah. I think Talisha hit the point spot on. But when I think about the opportunity of the evolution of AI, I was like listening to a podcast or a YouTube video, and they talked about how AI will replace those who are not leveraging AI or leveraging AI to their advantage. So when I think about AI, I think about it enhancing our day-to-day activities versus replacing it, right? So like you will always have to have that human input, whether it is like prompting or whether it is something around actually creating the workflow or actually looking at some of the outputs. Like you will always have that enhancement to where it comes to when you're leveraging AI. So I definitely think it's an opportunity, and think about the roles that will transpire 5 to 10 years from now, right? Like we already saw roles that are being created now that we need more scientists, researchers, that we need more, like all of these roles in the market has been booming right now. And when you think about 5 to 10 years from now, new roles will start spinning out that will create more opportunities for folks. And then the last thing I will say is, the entry level of leveraging or using AI has literally lower, like, so the entry barrier. So when you're thinking about that, you've seen so many businesses that are created leveraging AI or built on AI. You've seen so many people, like I'm a consultant, right? Where I consult small, medium-sized businesses. Like that only came about because AI came about. So you'll start seeing more and more roles come in more and more businesses to where it will continue enhancing folks and how we leverage AI versus the threat. But I do see where people are seeing that it is a threat of replacing me.
Yeah.
Can I also add really something quick to you? You know, Francine mentioned earlier you had moved from, I can't remember the field, but you've recently moved.
HR,
and I think,
yeah.
right,
Yep.
HR, right? And I think this is what people may not recognize. If you're in an organization, right, jobs, people are a little bit fearful about the market, and you have interest in AI, you've been dabbling in AI, it's also an opportunity for you to raise your hand and maybe talk to some different teams and see if there's a new position that you can kind of build out or carve within your existing organization and experiment and play around in a space where it's nascent, right? Like this is the opportunity to go after something before it blows up and then you're way behind. So I just also put that out there because in my career, I started out in traditional marketing and then kind of got into e-commerce and then digital marketing. And like, I'm in a whole different field, but I did that step by step in organizations where I was already kind of safe and raised my hand to learn.
And raising your hand is really important. It's the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series. I'm Kenneth L. Johnson. We're on today with Francine Marquis, Talisha Padgett, talking AI and how it's transforming the workplace. All right, so you know that you can find this episode and all other episodes of the Digital Career Success Series on the Urban League Jobs Network YouTube channel. There will be a Q&A segment after this. I'm looking in the chat. We have even some of our past guests in the chat. I see Angel Bush. I see Erica Broadwater. People are tuning in and they're loving the conversation. So thank you too for this. All right, let's move forward. Let's talk about the ecosystem out here that exists in the space that we're working in. So AI is enhancing our ecosystems. But as you were just mentioning, Talisha, sometimes it's through leveraging the tool as a co-creator for your career growth and business success. So let's talk a little bit about some of that. I'd like both of you guys to chime in. I don't care who takes the lead on this, but I think it's an important part of this discussion.
I'll let you go.
Okay, cool. I was like, I don't want us to both to be like, you know, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen our passion about just using AI. But what I will say when we're thinking about just being a co-creator for career growth or business success, we've seen what I'm putting them in is like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, right? The text to text, right? You put in a text and then a text come out. You've seen the text to image. You've seen the text to video. Now you'll see image to video, where you submit an image, and now the image is moving to real life videos that you could leverage for whatever whether it's marketing or anything like that. So the opportunity really around co-creation. I'll talk a little bit about like how I leverage it on my day-to-day. Notebook LM is one of our products at Google, right? And essentially what it does is it allows you to digest a bunch of information into a podcast. So what I do when I need to keep up with all things AI, I literally take all of the articles that my main sources of articles, and I drop it into Notebook LM, and it would literally give me a download in 15, 12 minutes. I think you could adjust the time of like me keeping up with what's going on. Same thing with long research papers, right? So if a research paper is launched around a particular new AI product and I need to quickly understand it, I throw it into either a Notebook LM or I'll ask whatever AI tool that I'm using, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Claude. I literally love all of the products for different reasons, but you get similar outputs to really understand. So when I'm working with small business owners, like we're helping them make business decisions much quicker, whether it's a resource constraint, whether it's whether it's actually like building a particular campaign and how to build a campaign. These are the options that small businesses can get to or can conclude to much quicker, rather than having to go through a 3 to 4 hour brainstorming session. And I just think about the amount of time that we kind of like invested when it comes to building a company from scratch, right? Like we have all these things, and now we have all these tools where a website could literally be created like this with just implementing a prompt. So I could share some of my like top 5 favorite tools at the end of the call, which is what I typically love doing to get people just started, right? Like we already know the text to text or whatever tool it is, Gemini, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, Perplexity, like whatever tool it is. But then we want to take it up a bit more to use other tools that will allow you to do additional things like multitask, where you're using Zapier, right? Where you're kind of automating a bunch of tasks where they're actually talking to each other rather than a one task type of thing. So there are so many things. I've even seen where people are leveraging AI to go through interviews. So they would literally like go through the interview questions with the AI tool, and then the AI tool will rate their answers. And that's literally something that we did not have access to. Now you don't have to do those champion interviews or those quick interviews. You could literally leverage AI to kind of like help you improve your interviewing skills.
Listen, Talisha's sitting here like, I'll do the coaching. Don't worry about that. Right?
she coaches on another different level. AI can't touch that.
Thank you, girl. Thank you.
Talisha, so Francine not only is speaking as a guest, but then she's giving people the questions to ask during the Q&A. She has a top 5 tools that she's using, so I love it. I love it. She's managing the show. I love this.
She probably did it all in like 10 minutes, like
exactly. Exactly. So Talisha, let's jump in. So leveraging AI as a co-creator, right? Mm-hmm. Leveraging AI for career growth and or business success. It's not a if you choose to use it. It's if you don't use it, you're behind.
You are behind. And I think that's one of the things that people need to recognize. It's just like, and I hate, maybe I'm dating myself, but when I started out doing marketing, I was doing print marketing. I was the youngest one on the marketing team. And I said, hey, what about email marketing? And they said, no one's going to respond to marketing in email. No one wants to be spammed, which we don't. But at the time, it was kind of a new thing. This is that new thing. It's just like the internet. It's going to happen whether you participate or not. And so you're absolutely right in terms of fueling your career success and your career growth. It should be in your toolkit. And, Francine laid out a whole bunch of examples, but I do leverage AI even as I'm coaching. The thing that I focus on is emotional intelligence and understanding other people so you know how to tailor your communication. But let me tell you, when I say, hey, if you have a boss that is, aloof or conflict avoidant, you may need to figure out how to say something to them in a different way. I will use AI in that scenario to help me give an example. So you can go into a tool, no matter which one, Copilot's great though, and just be like, hey, I'm working with someone who has difficulty communication. I'd like to convey a message without being threatening or overwhelming. What is a way to do this in a concise way? There's a first level pass that you can do. And so sometimes I think if people could just recognize the power of having an assistant, which is why Microsoft named it Copilot, and think about all the things you have challenges with. Think about the things that maybe you've been going back and forth on in your career. A lot of people tell me, I don't feel comfortable speaking up in meetings. There's 70 other ways that you can make impact and form connections without having to speak up in meetings, especially if there's someone who's like Chatty Cathy and you don't really feel like competing for attention. What are some other things? Leveraging AI to actually understand what those goals are and figuring out who you could maybe, talk to, and then maybe send shorter messages, figuring out different ways to engage with people based on personality types. All of those are just questions that you can ask any AI solution and get advice. Because again, AI right now is searching all kinds of books, websites, things that you would never be able to read up on in the same amount of time. So I say anytime you have a challenge, anytime you're thinking specifically about what you want to do in your career, or anytime you're thinking about evolving your current role, talk to an agent, an AI solution agent, and then start getting ideas from there. Because again, if you can actually offload a lot of the tedious work and spend time thinking strategically using AI, you are going to grow in your career.
If I could add real quick to that.
Yeah, please.
One thing that we've been seeing a lot with people leveraging AI is like, we could tell that people are using AI, right? And I think it's important to call out, like, don't lose your personality using AI. Like, don't lose who you are using AI. It's there to enhance what you have to say, not to replace everything that you have to say. So as you're like, you always need that human check at the end of before you're sending out that email, because I do that a lot where I'm trying to respond to somebody. I'm like, I don't want to sound mean, and I'm from Philly, and I know I'm going to sound direct.
Yeah.
But add a little fluff in front and behind, and please and thank yous. But really, really just hone in on that aspect of like, don't lose who you are leveraging this tool, because that's what's going to make the difference of those folks that are enhancers or co-creators with AI, and then those who are just like leveraging it to replace what they're doing.
Yeah. And that's a really great point. I think if anything, it helps you, again, because I spend time with people thinking through like strategy and emotions and how to navigate, it's going to give you a starting point, but you do need to then make it sound like you, make it be you. I think also, even when you're using it, not just for writing, but when you think about a strategy, you always need to put your own into it, because you're absolutely right. With now everyone, or pretty soon everyone having access to AI, if you're sending the same message without editing it, you're going to just disappear in the sea of sameness. You've seen that even in marketing campaigns that are using, you're like, this doesn't sound differentiated. I don't really see the value prop. Like, you have to add to it.
So really, are we talking about like the power of prompting, kind of the way that people are using the models, and getting, so is this true? So you need to use the models to kind of learn, to allow the models to learn you and your style, and maybe even a little information about kind of how you operate. Is that the power of prompting? Give us some tips and advice. We'll go to the next slide.
Francine, I know you have some thoughts here. I will just say, when we're talking about prompting for the sake of career growth or standing out, my prompts are not, write an email. My prompts are, I'm in this situation, I want to do this thing. I specify any document or anything they should leverage. If I'm producing content for me, I will also, now I am speaking about something that is a model that has access to your own information. So in this scenario, I'm talking about a co-pilot or something that I can point to a folder of all my, empathy coaching content, right? And then it'll reference that. But if you're doing an open source AI model, it won't be that specific. So we'll get to that in a second. But if you have access to something that has insight to a corpus of data that you've pointed it to, you can be very, very specific. Reference previous writing samples, look at my LinkedIn URL and sound like me. So the prompt needs, the output is only going to be as good as the prompt. Garbage in, garbage out. And I think what people are overwhelmed by is like, what do I say? How do I get started? For me, when I think about prompting, I always first start with the goal, right? Like, what do you want to get? What's the context of the situation? I'm looking to achieve this. I'm in, this current situation, or here's the current environment. I'm expecting, an outcome that looks like this, and here's the material to reference. So it's like goal, the context, the outcome that you want to get, and any source material. You can frame that in different ways, but if you do a good prompt and they have all of those components, you're going to get a more tailored result than something very generic.
No, I think Talisha touched on it very, very well. I use this framework called like being precise. P, like, what is your purpose? Be very specific. Whether you're using it for a business decision or a personal decision, just understanding what exact decision needs to be made. The R is what's the role or who the AI should be. So what expertise is needed, whether you need a social media manager or whether you need a a financial advisor. You just need some financial advice or something like that. The E is environment. So what's your business context? So like, this is where you really talk about the specific situation of like, I only have 5K for a marketing budget, or I am located in downtown Atlanta and I'm looking to build or open up another X, Y, and Z. That this is where you kind of like get into the nitty gritty of the business, your business context or your personal context. So like if you're creating your morning routine, these are the things that I'm trying to accomplish. Create me a schedule type thing. The C is around constraints. Where it's like practical limitations. So if you do have limitations, like I mentioned, the budget, or like I mentioned, you only have 2 resources to get done X, Y, and Z project versus, having a full stack team like we used to. But just like those business implementations, but you can obviously use it in a personal. The I is the instructions for the format. How do you want that output to look? Do you want it bullet points? Do you want it a blog? Do you want it 3 specific frameworks? The S is the success metrics, the evaluation criteria, what makes it a valuable response. So like, how do you measure success there? And then expectations. So the E's, the expectations, any additional guidance, or other specific things, like this is where you're pulling in links. This is where you're pulling in any other outliers that you want to just call out. Or maybe it's something that the tool has already done and you're like, don't give me this example again. I love using that approach and really just teaching it to my clients because it allows them to like literally focus on those particular things of being precise rather than asking it a one-liner or not being more in depth. And, the first time you actually use the tool, like you mentioned, Kenneth, like you have to train it, right? You have to train it on like how to respond back to you. Like, so when you're putting in your first prompt, it's not going to come out, the way that you love it. But, once you find that right prompt to use, I would encourage you to save it into a library. So I create literally a library of different things. If I'm creating a marketing plan, if I'm creating a new business LLC, if I'm working with customers and we're using this framework, how do I coach them through that? You'll start kind of like, you'll know what that output look like or what that output feels like. Cause you'll be like, that is more is what I am thinking versus, I hate that response. So, yeah.
Your precise technique is amazing. And based on what you shared at the beginning of the show, I can understand why you use it because your schedule's crazy. So you need it probably to support you scheduling. But no, listen, it sounds like you're really having a conversation with the tool. Is that what I'm getting, Talisha? Are you using it in a similar fashion?
Yeah, you definitely need to have a conversation with the tool. I also, and I'm blanking on the scientific word, but there's a reason, right, where you say please and thank you. It's based on all the data that is, the models are being trained on. You have to engage with it almost like it is your assistant because it actually provides better results if you're conversational in that manner. And to Francine's point, it's about going back and forth. It's about giving that direction, just like you would if you hired someone. They're not going to come in and be able to be your personal assistant the first time you assign a task. So it's about, one, if you can have a AI solution that you've trained on, or it's a smaller open source model, I think that's better. If you're using something open source like ChatGPT, understand that the model is built on the internet, and maybe it's the last however many years of the internet, but you're not going to get as precise as you need to be with the generic prompt. So in those situations in particular, especially for those that are starting out with it, you're going to have to be very, very precise, and you're going to have to engage and go back and forth and edit and, provide very clear direction. I like this in your output. However, I don't like this. Also your tone of voice, and to Francine's point, even the output format. Thank you, but can you try to make this shorter? Thank you, but can you actually put this in bullet points? Thank you, but I'd want to reprioritize. And so that's another thing I'll say. When people start experimenting with AI, some folks immediately are like, this isn't going to work and give up. It's those that are going to push through, have those ongoing conversations with an inanimate object that are going to get the output that's going to set them apart. And then when you put your whole pizzazz on it, your authentic self, yeah, you're gonna stand out compared to others.
Wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
if I could add really quick, usually when I'm speaking, I always poll the room of like, how many of you guys have used ChatGPT? I usually get like 80% of folks in the room. Then I start going down the list of different tools, and the hands start going down very quickly. And I think that this conversation should encourage folks to, one, definitely leverage there's thousands of tools out there. There's an AI for this is literally what I say. Whenever I meet anyone and they're like, hey, like I'm trying to do this, I'm like, there's an AI tool for that, or there's a process for that. And another thing that I will be remiss if I don't mention is never put your PII, so your personal identification information, in any of these open source tools, because once you put your name, your address, anything, now this open source will have the ability to use it for anything else, because we've seen these things come up where folks are actually finding the address and like the emails of different like businesses or like different folks because it's out there. So I definitely have to call that out of never use your PII data unless you have your own ecosystem.
Oh, I can appreciate
PII
that.
is personally identifiable information.
Yep.
Yeah. And I can appreciate that because a lot of times, we tell people, hey, jump in, use the tool, use the resource, right? But maybe we don't share enough about the cautionary piece around that, where people need to be really responsible as they leverage some of the tools. Talisha, any feedback on that as a practice?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the number one piece of advice. I'm a little bit older, so my Instagram is still private. I think nowadays there's so much information about people out there. Like, you've seen the examples of somebody posted themselves with a gun and then they show up and they get arrested. It's not hard in today's internet to stitch together information about a customer, information about a person, just on what's out there on Facebook. So in general, especially with the proliferation of data and the fact that it's so critical. I mean, even now what we're seeing with our government and DOGE and how, people are concerned about their data being shared. So if you haven't, I would go through and do an audit. I would go through unsubscribe. I'd go through and make sure, you're using multi-factor authentication. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do to just protect your information. Yeah. And I think for my younger brothers and sisters that my nieces, I'm always like, you're putting way too much on the gram. You can't be posting in front of your house with your address. And then, you know what I mean? Like, be mindful, everyone. So yes, regarding AI, don't put any personal identifiable information out online. But also, if you are using an open source solution, I would be a little bit more generic. I would use that as a starting point. And I know we all can invest in our own AI tools, but there are some more AI solutions that you can get a little bit private. And even the ones that are probably not as detailed will still help if you know kind of like where it's sourcing information, and then tailor what you input into that accordingly.
This is something that appears to be, well, it doesn't appear to be, it is. It's constantly evolving. It's happening really fast. What's the future of AI? What's next? What should we be on the lookout for before we jump into Q&A?
I guess I could start.
Being that you're the one working on it, so yeah, that's good, man.
I would say like we've seen this already. Like 2025 is the year of AI agents. You will be able to have a travel agent that could plan your entire vacation, book your hotel, get your flight, like all of those things where you don't have to worry about that. But obviously behind the scenes, that will have to be that's the multitask automation that I talked about before. Is like, now this task is talking, once this task is completed, it's now talking to this tool or this website to go look at some flights. Once you respond like, yep, this flight works, then it's moving to the next thing. I'm seeing like a lot of like voice agents. Like I know we've realized like although the spam calls are at a utmost high, also when you're talking to a lot of these large enterprises, you're now talking to a voice agent, and then the voice agent is actually able to help you a little more than the previous agent is what I'm seeing sometimes. But like when you don't kind of get the answer, obviously you click 0 or speak to a representative. But there are ways of escalations there, so that there are different types of agents that I'm seeing. And I actually did a talk with a university out here in Georgia, and we were talking about like the future of payments, right? And when you're thinking about that, like you're seeing how people are solving real problems nowadays. And we talked about the entry barriers is very low for folks to come in to solve simple problems that we've been having for years. I think the evolution of AI will continue to progress very quickly. But then you're going to see a lot of like more responsible AI come into play, more policies that are coming into play. Talisha talked about how folks are concerned about their data in the US. Like you'll probably start seeing different sovereign, I believe it's called, type of networks where a country will now house their data, right? So like you're seeing these evolution of like these problems and these solutions, and it will always happen that way. But I think the exciting part is like we don't know, but we're still learning every day around the evolution of AI. Literally every day, new things drop. So it's just a matter of fact of like, how much do you want to keep up with it? Leverage that notebook LM tip that I shared earlier, of just like getting that quick download of what's happening in the space. And then even like the policies that are happening in the space. We have to learn how to balance that.
Talisha, we're all trying to stay ahead. People are here today because they want information. You guys are doing a great job of providing it. What's next? Like, what are you seeing? What's on your radar that you're excited about?
Yeah, I think what's next is more and more AI. Like we said, I think we're going to be in an agent world. I built lots of agents, over 100 in the last year, and now we're stitching those together. We're trying to, at least at Microsoft, we have kind of a tiering category of, how involved does the human need to be in the process, and where can we stitch together agents or stitch together AI and automation such that the human is only doing the oversight, right? They can do steps 1 through 5. So you need to be more and more comfortable with a lot more of the job being automated. And that's really the goal. I also think cloud computing is something that people are going to be surprised about how quickly that starts to come to bear. And that'll, be 10, 20 years, but it's going to change. Just like, our cell phones, we didn't have cell phones before. Now I can't even imagine, riding the bus for my child or something without having a, phone. So the speed of the transformation is going to be accelerated, because the more and more these new solutions come out leveraging AI, the more and more computers are not becoming smarter. It's just a cliche statement, but they are. And the solutions that are going to come to bear are going to come faster. So I think what people can expect is more an acceleration of transformation using tools, which I think to me causes a little bit of concern around our ethics. I manage also responsible AI as part of the Center of Excellence. Responsible AI is one of my team members' responsibility, and we have a team that assesses every AI solution that we deploy. And, if it's customer facing, that level of rigor and the impact assessment that we have to go through and the deployment safety board that has to be put in front of it is a very arduous, rigorous process, but that's on purpose, because the impact of AI, when it's not built correctly and the models aren't done correctly, could actually tarnish your brand. It could actually provide, negative results. And, as you imagine, we're seeing a lot more of unethical comments be presented in results, because again, if an AI solution is scanning the internet, it's going to get a whole bunch of information that, we ideally don't think is socially responsible. So it's important that we think through new jobs, right? We talked about new jobs before. I'm excited to see, if anything, some more ethic and responsible AI roles come to bear to make sure that we don't let these tools run without some oversight.
What you just caught my attention as a recruiter. Yeah, more of those roles, right? Exactly. That makes a lot of sense to me. Listen, we're locked in. Talisha, Padgett, Francine, Marquis. We would like to roll into Q&A. I was just looking through some of this. There's a ton of questions.
They're asking for the top 5.
Yeah, that was where we were going to start. I'm like, she's not off the hook on this top 5. So we're going to start right there. Talk to us about this top 5, Francine.
Yeah. So you obviously got to talk about Gemini, right? Where I leverage Gemini and actually Claude. I think I love Gemini for its specific ways, and then Claude, it just has more of my personality in it. So I leverage those two. What I told you earlier, someone also asked for this, a tool to take notes, read.ai. Essentially, I love that tool because you can use otter.ai as well, but basically you use that to take notes, or Gemini, you take your notes. But I love read.ai because it actually provides you coaching on how you were during the call and how the other folks are in the call, right? So like, let's say, for example, if you're not talking enough during a call and you're really trying to take charge of having like executive presence or providing value into calls, that is what I use when I'm trying to actually do that. And then Notion AI for my daily flow, obviously, it literally helps you do whatever you need to do, either from the templates that you can use or the templates that you can create. I literally put like how to track my budgets, my daily flow, my Sunday resets, all of that stuff, my workouts, because I saw a comment around like, what's your workout routine? I was like, I don't think you want to know. I get up at 5 a.m. But so that's another one. Why am I forgetting my other few? Some other.
You didn't say co-pilot, but it's fine.
Am I still here?
Yeah, you're here.
Okay. Some other tools I'll talk about is Notebook LM. Obviously, I talked about that earlier. Definitely leverage VO or Imagine. So VO is our text to image, or now image to image as well. So basically you put in a prompt of an image that you want. Let's say, show me a girl that is getting ready to go on a flight to go on vacation. Like, they will provide you a nice quality shot, and you can leverage that for social media. You can leverage that for anything. And I know some other companies also came out with have the similar approaches. And then I will also say VO, where it's literally text to video, where you can literally create quick snippets of things. So you put in a prompt of, show me your girl walking through TSA, trying to make it to our flight in a rush. The more specific you get, the better those are. But if any more come to my mind, I'll definitely share it. But if you go on Futuretopia, I believe is what's called, they literally have whatever industry you're looking for, they literally have a tool for anything. So definitely check that out.
I love it. That was Francine's top 5. We're getting ready to make a blog post out of that.
Most productivity got it.
All right, look, I want to jump into this. I can't ignore this question, needless to say, because we're working through. It's Women's History Month. It's the National Urban League, and the question is: AI is being taught to ignore minorities, not see their features, like not seeing their features and facial recognition and things of that nature. How can we use AI to our advantage? One, is that true? But two, you guys are pretty embedded in this space, and I know a lot of people do feel that way, though.
Yeah, I don't think AI is taught to ignore. I think the problem is the models and the engineers are not familiar with Black faces. So again, it's as good as the input. And I think, any Black person that I've known has gone to the bathroom to try to get water or soap out of the dispenser, doesn't recognize our hand. That's one example of a whole company not providing any oversight, not really doing enough testing and validation, and not having the right people in the room when they design those solutions, right? And unfortunately, there's often not a lot of us in these organizations to have that point of view and have that perspective. That's why it's always important to have diversity of thought, but damn sure, diversity of people and talent. And anytime you're building anything, right? I have been so blessed and fortunate to work in IT and work in marketing tech, because I'm often providing the perspective that doesn't come naturally. This is also why I'm saying, and Francine said earlier, there's a ton of new opportunities that will be presented with the acceleration of AI. And I hope that we spend more time and continue to encourage people to enter into STEM fields, to enter into these rooms that we don't really feel comfortable in, because otherwise the AI will not recognize us because there's not enough information or input by us or about us to have a proper output.
You know, that leads us to the next question, though. How do you transition into a career, right? So, Francine, talk to us.
Can I just chime in really quick on what Talisha
Please.
mentioned of the importance of testing the products? Like I mentioned, I run a trusted tester program, and every feedback that comes through goes directly to our product team. So whenever I'm speaking to folks in workshops and things of that nature, I literally always have like, here's how you can sign up for my products, and allow different folks that look like me to use the products and tell me directly how they've leveraged the product, right? It's so important because I do see like when the products are being created, we are exactly what Talisha mentioned. It's just like they're trained in different ways and not trained on us. We do partner with different organizations and community members to also ensure that we're thinking about, folks that look like us, people of color, to embed in that. And then when it comes to building the products, like I also teach like a embedding AI responsibly in your workflow to developers, right? It's always us constantly having these conversations. It doesn't matter where you are, even if you're using a simple tool like a ChatGPT and the output comes out incorrectly, report that to them so they know. Like feedback is literally a gift, and I think if you don't call it out now, then what will happen is that these issues will continue to happen, and these companies think it's okay. So I think it's very important to give that feedback, test out the products. You can message me directly on any Google products that you've used, and I'll send it directly to our product team. Because I think it is important, because this is the reason why I go around speaking about these products of like, hey, like you better hop on this train while it's moving. Don't get left behind, because it's important for us to get the data of folks that look like us leveraging the product. Now, in terms of getting into the space, I would definitely like, I think I get this question often, and I think it's important to talk about, the things that are required to actually do the job correctly, but then also what should you be doing beforehand, right? So if you're thinking about, if you want to go into the responsible AI space, you have to start targeting different organizations that already do the work and embed yourself in that. I always say, like, if you are working with an organization that aligns directly with the role, or if you've started something that aligns directly with the role, add that on your resume, because that will show that you are a subject matter expert in this space, and that will make you stand out versus, you got this particular certifications. Not saying certifications are not good. Certifications give you that basic level and layer of understanding of how this particular company is thinking about responsible AI, is thinking about generative AI, is thinking about prompting. So then you take that and then you apply it, you use it, and then you work with different organizations or whoever's interested in leveraging AI, and then you kind of bring that back to your resume and you come back and you're like, yeah, I work with small businesses on X, Y, and Z, and I taught myself. I definitely think in a few months, we'll see more roles kind of roll out around what companies are looking for. If you know that's what they're looking for in a few months, prepare yourself now to, whether it is getting a certification, whether it is directly working with folks that you may know, to prepare yourself to apply for the roles that will be coming to the market soon. So.
Amazing. I love that information that you just shared. I'd like to offer both of you the opportunity. Talisha, I'd like to start with you, though. Do you have any closing remarks for our audience?
So many. I do think right now it's a good opportunity to try to look into pivoting into AI. I saw a question around, like, I'm a direct line, healthcare worker. How would I get into that? I do think that if you have time or need to make time to practice, to use the tools, and to get some certifications. If you're in a specific field and you want to completely pivot, you need to spend time looking at the roles that are there that you're seeing online, and then assessing your resume to see if you have any of those skill sets. Most of the time I talk to people about who transition careers, and as I mentioned, I've done as well, having an understanding of what you do, really well that aligns to the job description. So if this is they're looking for a manager level role in the AI space, and you may have been a manager, but in a different field, there's still going to be some things that you can say on your resume that you've done over a span of years. But specifically anything regarding AI, it's only been around for the last year. So if you get a couple certifications, if you actually start using it, if you can use it in your work, in your current role, whatever discipline that is, and then showcase the use on your resume that speaks to the job description, that'll help you get ahead versus just saying, hey, I'm interested and I should be, considered. You're going to have to showcase on your resume what you've done leveraging AI, and what you've done in addition to, over the course of your career that adds value to that company in that role. And that does take some time. When I coach people, it's not just about leveraging AI. Again, it's about being forward looking, thinking what's happening in your organization, seeing what's happening in the market, seeing where you are naturally strong, and having the ability to come into any situation and feel confident about that thing, and then looking for items and areas in that space. So leverage AI where you can, focus on what you're good at, make sure you're updating your resume tailored to what you're applying for. And if you have gaps, go fill them.
Empathy coaching, Talisha Padgett. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Francine,
notes over here.
Francine, any closing remarks?
Yeah, I mean, I think Talisha hit the nail on the head, right? What I will say is, don't be afraid of the tool. Dive in, and it's okay if you feel overwhelmed the first few times. Like, really understand that AI is here to enhance your work. It's not here to replace you. Once you get over that fear of the replacement, then you can start writing down and jotting down, like, what are some things that I want to take off of my list, and then create different frameworks or a checklist of things that you want to create. And then just start checking it off the list. I think we get overwhelmed because it's so many tools that even the 5 or the 4, however many I shared, we get overwhelmed with that. And it's just no, just literally use it. See if you like it. If you don't like it, cool, move on to the next tool, but really leverage it as best as you can. Get comfortable with it, because that's going to be how you enter into the tech workforce.
Well, thank you for allowing us. Thank you both for allowing us to leverage your expertise today. This has been amazing. It's AI Unleashed, transforming the future of work and embracing technology. Once again, if you're looking to stay connected with what's happening in this space, you can lock in with Francine Marquis. This is her information. She got the blog going. She's LinkedIn, Instagram. Please lock in with her. And also you can lock in with Talisha. She's really busy, but empathy coaching, I would check that out. I'm going to go run to her website immediately after this. And of course, blog, LinkedIn. That IG is private. She already told us, so she might not mess with you over there.
Empathy coaching is open, but my personal is private.
Okay. All right. All right, I got you. And look, if you want to connect with me, it's Kenneth L. Johnson. You can get me website, eastcoastexecutives.com, but also LinkedIn or Instagram. You know what we're going to do? Because we spoke about those certificates today, anybody that connects with me on LinkedIn and says that we have the foundational AI certifications at East Coast Executives through Google. I will sign you up for that class free of charge and let you kind of lock in and learn and get started on this AI journey. As both of our panelists said today, you better jump on this train and jump on it now. Speaking of jumping on trains, join us from influence to income. We're going to do it next week, man. We had a run through with these 2 young ladies, Wumi, Lisa. They are ready for our April 9th edition, Entrepreneurial Strategy. So we're giving you the AI information that not only allows you to succeed at work, but also will allow you to succeed in entrepreneurship. And with that being said, I'd like to thank Mr. Corey O'Donnell, Dave, of course, Wanda Jackson, all the team at the National Urban League for allowing us to do this every other week. We'll be back April 9th. My name is Kenneth L. Johnson. I hope to see you on LinkedIn. Lock in. We got a resource for you if you want it. Thank you so very much. We'll see you on April 9th.